Is a job description that people sign, is that do you consider that a contract? And one real common thing I hear from small business owners is, I don't want to give them a job description because now they're going to say, that's not my job. How would you handle that? I know other duties as required when requested, but so two questions.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
a
what I was going to say,
contract?
is you handle it with that's exactly how you handle it, though, is with those other duties as required, as requested. And yes, you're absolutely right. You were listening earlier. You do want to make sure that that doesn't establish a contract. So typically you'll have some language on that as well, if it's something that employees are required to acknowledge or to sign. The job description. So yeah, I still think it's advisable. I get clients a lot of times, like you say, it may change, especially with a smaller, a newer business where you're kind of figuring out who's doing what roles and who sits in what seat. It's still helpful to have, particularly if there's any sort of, I would absolutely have it if there's any sort of physical component to the work. So if there, it's any sort of manufacturing, anything where there's physical requirements, a job description is absolutely necessary. If there's not physical requirements, I still think it's incredibly helpful to have for disability analysis or medical analysis.
And you may not go into detail on this right now, but just there are certain things that should be in a job description, right? A well-written one might have purpose and the name of the
Yes.
job and the duties, but there are also those have to pick up 75 pounds and work
Yeah,
at night.
physical
and
requirements.
things like that. So there are requirements for a good job description.
Yes, those physical requirements, and then also, and that comes into play. Again, this is a whole separate podcast series, probably, talking about employees employers working with employees that have medical issues. Because if employees have any sort of, and I say medical very broad, it covers a lot of things there, but that's a lot of times where I spend a good part of my day on the phone with clients is managing employees that have different issues that arise, be it physical or mental disabilities, and showing that they're able to do their job is key in those discussions. And doing that, if you have a job description, it's easy to show what their job is. If you don't have that, then it looks like you may be, oh, now you're saying I have to do this. I've never done this before. Joe that works next to me has never had to do this. Now you're telling me I need to, or I didn't know that was part of my job. When I was hired, I thought I could do this, or this was my impression. So having a written job description, one, prevents that confusion and provides some clarity to employees about what the expectations are of the job. And then two, is very useful in determining and kind of working with that employee in any sort of medical related inquiries or discussions related to any physical or mental disabilities.